Hello, and welcome to Nature News Flash, where you get the details on what's going on in nature near you right now. If you're a freshwater fisherman like me, you're probably noticing that your lines aren't as tight as they used to be, and you're walking away from water bodies with less catches. It turns out there's a lot more going on in the water than you probably thought, causing the fish to change their lifestyles completely. But in order to explain this properly, we have to return to our favorite science to explain those invisible forces that we love and hate. Physics! If you remember my hawk migration video, you'll recall that colder things are much more dense than warmer things. This stays pretty consistent for the summer in water bodies when it comes to warm water being closer to the surface and colder water being closer to the bottom. This of course changes when it gets a bit more frigid outside. When the surface water of ponds and lakes reaches around 39 degrees Fahrenheit, that water is at its most dense state, which means it sinks. This cold sinking water displaces bottom water towards the surface, causing it to get cooled again and drop down in a sort of cycle that goes around. This process in lakes and ponds that occurs during fall in the Northeast is called turnover. When winter arrives, the surface water temperature drops even lower, which means it freezes. But because ice is actually less dense than water as a liquid, it floats at the surface, causing insulation for the entire water body. It keeps all the water underneath just warm enough to prevent it from freezing. This prevents creatures like fish that live under the surface during the winter from becoming ice cubes. But different fish have different tolerances to cold, which means different plans for seasonal cycles. This brings us to split freshwater fish into two known groups: cold water and warm water. Warm water species are probably your most familiar, including bass, sunfish, crappie, and catfish. These guys are found most abundantly during the summer and are generally found close to shore. But during turnover, they are constantly searching out that warm spot in the water column. During the winter, these guys go deep down to the bottom where they perform a torpor, which means that it slows its bodily functions down just for a period of time. But other species don't really mind the winter as much. The cold water fish include trout, perch, walleye, and pike, and they remain active throughout turnover and still feed during the coldest months. So maybe it's not time to put your tackle away, but actually switch your gear and try for a new challenge to experience wildlife all year round. Come back next week to find out about a hibernator that almost kills itself to survive. But until then, I'm Joe the Naturalist for Nature News Flash, signing off.